Many liberal and mainstream media are accusing leftist politicians that they are complicit towards Putin. They are not harsh enough against the invasion of Ukraine. So what do you think, if not sanctions, then what would put an end to this war?
Well, to begin with, as I said, I considered him and I called him out a war criminal well before the liberal commentators who are now attacking me for being, Putin's assistant, servant.
Do you get that kind of criticism all the time?
Which is ridiculous because the Putin regime seriously dislike me because I've called them out repeatedly for decades now. Putin unleashed the war of choice. He didn't have to unleash that war. His argument that he had no alternative is rubbish. That is true. It is also true that it's a criminal war, and it is true that whenever a country is invaded, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Yemen, whether it's the Palestinians, whoever, I will always feel the need, if it's Hungary invaded by anyone, I will support the invaded.
Yes.
I think we have a moral duty to do that, and to support the defense as well, the military defense, within reason, of course, right? Because when I see what the United States government has been doing ever since Putin committed that criminal act of invading Ukraine, it is clear that the United States, and it's the United States that's running the show, there's no such thing as the European Union, right? The European Union has completely fallen in line with Washington, D.C. You put together the words European, foreign, and policy, and you end up with a joke. There's no such thing, right? So they've simply acquiesced 100% to whatever Biden is doing. When I look at what Biden is doing, the American administration is doing, they are clearly interested in one thing: turning this war into a permanent conflict. Because it is in the US government's, establishment's, military-industrial complex, Texan fracking oil industry interest that this war goes on forever.
We are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy, not just the world economy, in the world. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it.
Joe wants to lead the new world order. He can't even keep his own house in order.
And so what we're witnessing is the violent eruptions of a great tectonic shift in global power. As U.S. global power declines, China ascends, power shifts from the West, Europe and the United States, towards Asia, and we're witnessing then an historic change, constructing a new kind of world order, far less concerned with human rights, far less concerned with law, a kind of transactional world order of mutual convenience.
Remember back in the early 90s when the Soviet Union collapsed? Bush 41 said the New World Order was an opportunity.
We have in this past year made great progress in ending the long era of conflict and Cold War. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
Well, sadly, Bush lost, and Clinton, Wall Street, and stupid senators like Joe Biden shaped the New World Order. And that New World Order ended up just being massive globalization, putting other countries first and America last, pushing deals like NATO and NAFTA, where we opened our borders, shipped our jobs down south to Mexico, and empowered the cartels that are funneling drugs into our neighborhoods. And China can thank the New World Order for their giant leap forward.
We're joined by Alfred McCoy, professor of history at University of Wisconsin-Madison, author of numerous books, most recently, To Govern the Globe, World Orders and Catastrophic Change. His recent article for The Nation is headlined, Russia and China Together at Last.
And that's also a reference to the historic meeting between Putin and Xi Jinping on February 4th of this year, when the two met during the Winter Olympics, and they issued an historic 5,300-word declaration that laid claim to establishing a kind of new global order, to attacking U.S. global hegemony, and to build upon their strong bilateral alliance, their very close economic integration in the field of energy, and to simultaneously block NATO from threatening Russia and block the United States from supporting Taiwan against China's legitimate claims to Taiwan. And so, in effect, what that meeting failed to accomplish was it simply failed to break this emerging alliance between China and Russia, which is literally shaking the current world order.
The international order that the U.S. and its allies built after World War II is, we are told, crumbling.
I really do think this is a moment like the end of World War II, where all of the boats are rocking, but the forces of freedom are doing what they need to preserve and protect themselves.
It's about humility, isn't it, Tulsi? It's about recognizing that the American president can't just shape the world however he wants. And part of being intelligent is kind of knowing your limitations. Do you think Joe Biden knows his limitations, or do you think he's so arrogant that he thinks he's just going to, create a new world order?
Central to that humility, Jesse, is first and foremost recognizing you're not God. You are not in control. And if you try to pretend that you are, what will result, even with good intentions, what will result, unfortunately, is more suffering, more hardship. For the people in the world that supposedly he's trying to save, he seems to be more focused on trying to be president of the world, and along with the power elite of America, taking this missionary zeal to say, you know what, we're going to set aside the problems that the American people are facing and instead focus on saving the world by spreading democracy everywhere. It's just a bigger version of Obama's Arab Spring, where he took his kind of messianic attitude towards trying to save the Middle East by spreading democracy, but really just left destruction, suffering, and death in his wake. And that is exactly what we will see play out if he continues to think that he is and can be somehow the controller of all people and all things in this world.
I mean, he can barely even control himself, let alone the entire world.
Outside Africa, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake has killed more than 2,200 people and injured thousands in Turkey and northwest Syria, making it the highest death toll from an earthquake in Turkey since 1999. The 7.8 magnitude quake in 1999 devastated the western Turkish city in Izmit, 90 kilometers southeast of Istanbul, killing more than 17,000 people, causing $1 billion in damage in Istanbul, Kenali, and Sakarya provinces.
What makes this event so unusual is that 9 hours after the initial quake, a huge 7.5 magnitude aftershock, almost as strong as the first, happened here 100 kilometers to the north.
The first quake, measuring 7.8, struck when people were asleep in the early hours of this morning near the Turkish city of Gaziantep. It triggered a second quake, almost as powerful, just a few hours later.
In southern Turkey, buildings crumble like sand. Obliterated by some of the worst earthquakes in a century. The first struck before dawn as the country slept. The impact captured on a shot CCTV, shaking for around 90 seconds.
Video showing the moment that 7.8 magnitude quake hit. You can hear the shaking and see power flashes. This town plunged into darkness. The danger persisting through the day. Clouds of debris billowing into the street as this building collapses. The region rocked by at least 75 aftershocks.
However, getting to the devastated areas amid more than 300 aftershocks over mangled roads covered in rubble, ice, and snow.
This reporter covering the urgent search and rescue efforts when the earth shakes again. People running for their lives. You can hear the buildings collapsing. Witnesses turning around to see this.
Syria's plight has been thrust into the eyes of the world again. Today, it's fighting a different kind of battle.
The initial earthquake devastated cities in Turkey and Syria and was felt as far away as Lebanon, Cyprus and Israel. The region then rattled with a series of aftershocks. 9 hours later, the 7.5 magnitude quake struck.
The terror and scale of the damage revealed with the light.
Turkey is situated on or near several fault lines, and it is one of the world's most active earthquake zones.
This was a series of powerful earthquakes, not just one. They were only around 20 kilometers under the surface, and shallow quakes caused the most damage.
The earthquake was incredibly powerful, unleashing widespread destruction without warning. A force so intense it wiped out history in seconds. This 2,000-year-old castle among the wreckage.
A coalition of civil society groups has berated deposit money banks over the non-issuance of the new Naira note to Nigerians. At a rally organized by the group to address the continuous scarcity of the redesigned notes by the central bank, the group called on DMBs to immediately make available the new notes and end the sufferance of the people living on daily proceeds. Our correspondent, Emmanuel Olubobokun, tells us more.
The group moved to various commercial banks displaying placards with various inscriptions calling for the availability of the redesigned Naira notes. The group also visited some ATM machines where it met long queues of withdrawals. The president of the group, Etuk Williams, handed out a copy of their mandate to an official of one of the banks visited.
That the banks are making the new Naira note very difficult for Nigerians to access. And what we are saying here is, we are telling them and we are warning them that they should not allow Nigerians to suffer. Presented by Etuk Williams on behalf of all the civil society leaders. So the management team of First Bank headquarters in Lagos.
Amongst the many aggrieved Nigerians, this woman aired her grievances over the perceived hoarding of the new notes by banks.
And we want the money to be out. We are all Nigerians and we are all equal. If we are giving to the rich people, even the poor people, we are begging. We are asking that you should come out and give us this new note. That is all what we want.
Despite the CBN's directive to commercial banks to make available the new note to the populace, it is still a tug of war to get cash, a sign that the cashless policy of the CBN is yet to fit into the system. Emmanuel Olubobokun, Plus TV News.
One man. What about two? What about six? How about public executions, huh?
Feel free to leave whenever you like, Agent Howard.
Put soldiers on the street and have Americans looking over their shoulders, bend the law, shred the Constitution just a little bit. We do that, and everything that we have bled and fought and died for is over. And they've won. They've already won.